Greetings, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of WTF Walk the Floors. I'm Stephanie Ledger with First Rate Hospitality, and I'm joined with my co host, Michele Kline of Kline Hospitality. How are you today, Michele?
I'm doing great, Stephanie. How are you?
Doing fabulous, keeping in the sunshine.
Keeping in the sunshine. We got a lot of rain, which is fantastic, and we got a lot of snow, which is exciting. So let's jump to it. We have a very special guest with us today, Henrico Ellis. He comes to us from beautiful Nassau. Thank you so much for being here, Enrico. We want to know a little bit about who you are and tell us about your career, and then we'll jump into our topic of today.
Yes, most definitely, Michelle and Stephanie. First of all, it is a pleasure. I am honored to be here on your show, and I'm avid fan and avid follower of your show. And just to give a little bit about myself, like you mentioned, I am directly involved in the hospitality industry and work for one of the largest hotel resorts within the Caribbean. And so I've been in this field for the last decade, directly in the hotel industry, and I've worked a number of areas in rooms division, housekeeping, from housekeeping to the bell desk to front office operations to guest services. And now I'm currently director responsible for island-wide here guest shuttle services across the entire resort. And so I have, been in face to face with the guests for the last decade.
That's fantastic. What a beautiful career and the opportunity to go between departments, right? Because there's always something new that you learn and something that you can implement from another department to wherever it is that you are today. That's so fantastic. So tell us a little bit about, if you will, what would you say is your area of expertise, given that you have been in so many areas within the hotel operation side?
Well, one of the things I would say, and this is something that I share with my team, I would say my areas of expertise, if I were to sum it up, I'm a problem solver. And being in hospitality, of course, you wear directly, especially in a large resort or hotel, you wear a number of hats. And so being a problem solver, no day is the same. And so I'd sum it up in saying a problem solver and really to ensure that the guests are left with smiles on their face and have a wonderful experience because we want them to come back. That is the key for them to return.
Awesome. And then also too, we before in our discussion talking about too with our leadership, and I know we were talking as well with what you've been posting lately about your leadership. So tell us a little bit of how you are leading your team.
Well, one of the biggest things is really having a boss that's easy to talk to. And being in hospitality and the pressures that's come with it, from day to day, whether you're outing fires across the hotel resort, whether you're dealing with a guest concern, whether you're trying to turn a negative situation around, to compound that, being able to turn whether yourself as the leader or who you're reporting to, having that person easy to talk to and being in a win-win situation always is a plus. And so, there have been a number of times, for example, you may find yourself, well, I've been in a situation where that has not always been the case. And I've always said to myself, whenever I have an opportunity to get to the level of leadership, and whether I'm leading small or large teams, I want to make sure that I'm easy to talk to, I'm approachable, because that would then reciprocate and make somebody else's day and easier to go and resolve those issues for the guests.
Absolutely, especially like you're saying, Enrico, the fact that it's a very demanding industry,
Yeah.
right? We are there day in and day out, making sure that everybody else around us has a memorable experience and putting that smile on the guest face, but also connecting with our team members. How important
Yes.
is that? And I think that being able to lean in on that person that you report to, regardless of what it is that the day throws at you, and being able to have those genuine conversations where you can connect with that leader, I think it speaks very loud of who the person on the other side is, right?
That is correct. Absolutely. And so being able to have a leader who may be a go-to person, whether you're looking for some advice, looking for guidance, you don't want to be in a situation or shouldn't have to be in a situation where you have to think second twice. I mean, or think twice as to should I approach? Am I able to approach? What mood that leader or person may be in today, but you want to have an open door policy where your team members feel comfortable. And for example, where they can fail forward, if that makes sense. So, example, if they did make a mistake or they did fail, it's okay, but make sure that you're failing forward so that you can turn around and go and, and we learn from our mistakes. So making a mistake is okay. We should learn from it, be able to grow and see how what we did wrong, and being able to have a leader or boss to talk to and say, hey, this is what you could have done better, makes the whole environment a much better place.
And it takes work to create that environment where people feel that way, right? I think
Yes.
it's not just in the personality or the choice of the leader on the other side, but also on the hard work that you put in and day out to create that culture where people know that even if I fail or even if I don't do what I everybody will operate from a place where they think they're doing the right thing. But even if I'm not, then someone's going to stop and let me know so that creates growth. And I
That
think
is correct.
today more than ever, where we see so much turnover and where we see a lot of people from other industries coming into our industry, this is critical.
Yes, it is. And we have to be in a position to understand that mistakes are opportunities and
Yeah.
opportunities for the better. And so again, the more of them you make, you should be growing from the mistake, and you should be making notes. What was the opportunity? Where did we go wrong? How can we do it better? And so to speak, you should be making a playbook that you can go back to and say, okay, I had this situation before. What did we do back then? What worked well and what didn't work? And so having that environment is a plus for everybody. It then spills over also into the environment with the guests. The guest ends up happy. And ultimately, what happens is it's a benefit for your brand and your team, because returning guests because of that then equals a positive result.
Yeah, absolutely. It cascades.
Yeah.
And then I just want to add too, with being in the Bahamas, like location wise as well, can be very limited with trying to keep your staff engaged. Also, too, with different resources compared to what we may have in our larger cities here. But how are you utilizing, even with the location, to making sure that we're taking care of the guests yet still motivating the team?
Well, one of the key things is recognition. And recognition doesn't have to be on a large scale, whether it's a simply thank you or even simply, one of the things that I try to implement at the end of the shift or at the end of the day, I would say to the team, hey, thanks for the day, drive safe. So just telling them drive safe says, that's someone who really cares about me, who understands that may have a rough day, and telling me to drive safe. And so just those simple little gestures or showing interest makes a difference. And to your point, being on from the Bahamas on a small island and having the limited resources, so those simple investments in your team and just showing that you care makes a huge impact.
Yes. And we talk about employee engagement, and the reality is engagement starts with one, right? It's
Correct.
a leader that has to be engaged with their people and with the thought and the commitment of making things right for their own people. Because at the end of the day, like you're saying before, it'll cascade into the rest of the operation and into whatever we're trying to deliver when it comes to service and creating those memorable moments for our guests, for sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
What would you say, Enrico, has been one of your biggest learnings since you've been in the industry for you?
Well, I would say if I were to have to really select something, is really being honest and admitting, for example, when you make a mistake and knowing that it's okay. And for example, you have guests or even teammates around you would be somewhat forgiving once you're honest. And I think your honesty is really the big thing, and not really trying to really hide information or hide where a mistake was made. Just saying, look, this was an opportunity, the ball was dropped. I would like an opportunity to turn this situation around, and not being afraid to say that or have those conversations. And so being able to do that, you would find that it is easier to resolve issues rather than giving a plethora of excuses as to why something may not have happened.
Absolutely. It's having a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset, right? You see mistakes or failure from the perspective of opportunities and what can come from that. I love that. And Enrico, what would you say is your most memorable, if you can narrow it down to one, your most memorable WTF, walk the floors type of experience or moment that you can remember in your career? That one moment where, if there would have been management walking the floors, and walking the floors meaning like engaged, in tune, you know, with a true comprehension of what the team should be doing, then this could have been prevented. What would you say that is?
Well, one of the, I would say the most important is learning and adapting. And again, similar to walk the floors, we call it the shop floor. And I'm sure that is not strange to Michele or Stephanie yourself, in being in this industry. And being on the shop floor is important. Not being on the shop floor, you don't get to engage the guests as much and hearing the concerns of which you can prevent. And so by not being, for example, present at any particular point in time during your schedule or during your day, you're not able to prevent. So for example, there was a time, when, for example, it was all in meetings. Leadership wasn't able to be around, and there were guests that had a concern, at the resort, that could have been prevented should we had someone in our lobby area doing a key check out time to prevent something from happening for another guest checking into a room. Again, we were able to resolve it. But again, so hence was born having a lobby coordinator on a regular basis to capture those concerns so that we can prevent any other guests from experiencing a negative experience.
That's wonderful. Stephanie, what are your thoughts?
I mean, this is great, especially to have seen that it's such a large property and having to deal with so many personalities, but then also to engaging with the team and encouraging the team to come together as a team, but then also to being open to other suggestions and not being so black and white.
Correct. And if I may, one of the key things as well that works flawlessly all the time, being easy to talk to your staff and them opening up to you, is the fact that you want to make sure that you're telling your team, make sure that you're branding yourself. So many times we focus on the team, you're trying to hit that score, whether you're using a service like Revenate, TripAdvisor, and so forth for the department, and your brand by itself to hit those scores or those minimum scores. But if you train your team, hey, brand yourself, what's going to happen? Ultimately, the brand, the department that they work for is going to benefit from the results. And so one of the things that I train my team and I teach my team to do is brand yourself, what you want your brand to be. Nobody wants a negative brand. So by taking that approach, the department that they're working in, and by extension, the brand, reaps the reward of someone who wants a high brand of integrity, respect, and wants to be a good brand, ends up getting, the benefits because they are part of that existing team. I hope that makes sense to you, ladies.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Do you
And
have
it's
any more
even
questions, Stephanie?
Well, as I was just going to add on to that is, also with building your brand is, how do you want to be remembered or even the go-to person? We always talk in a lot of our episodes about how small the industry actually is. And if you go into a different property or a different position, how do you want others to be talking about you?
Right. And so, well, the main thing again, it goes to a number of things, and I'm big on integrity. And so, one of the things is what you're going to do in private should carry over in public. And once you have that, I used to have a leader I used to report to some time ago, and this always sticks with me. And again, he also said, I may not know, but God knows. And so that stuck with me to say, for example, it's based on your integrity, it's based on who you want to be. And I think once you maintain that level of integrity, whether you're in private or in the public light or can be seen, persons are going to see that, they're going to recognize that, and it's going to be valued. And then that's going to be the differentiator across the board.
Absolutely.
I love that. I love your perspective. Thank you so much, Enrico, for being with us. One last question. We have a lot of emerging leaders, leaders in the making who follow us. And we always like to know if there is this one nugget, given that you are where you are in your career, one little piece of advice that you could give our audience, those who are, working towards reaching the position that you're in, what do you think that would be?
Well, one of the key things is in order to get results, you have to be in the business to know the business.
Walk
And
the
it's similar,
floors.
walk the floor. So you have to be in the business to know the business. And you have to set time, for example, on your schedule, on your calendar, what specifically you're doing across that particular day or throughout the day. And the main thing is you have to take time to be in the business. And it ties right into walk the floors. That is going to be the difference maker in your progress as you continue to grow in the hospitality arena to be able to make a difference. If you're not in the business or walking the floors, you can't make those improvements.
I love it. Well, thank you so
Yes.
much for being with us. Thank you for sharing your stories and enlightening us and our audience. We hope to have you back in the future. And thank you, Stephanie, for being on the other side too. And thanks for our audience for being here, for listening in. And we will see you next time.
Michele and Stephanie, it has been a pleasure. I'm honored.
Thank
Thank you.
you.